What if I told you that almost every problem in your life can be filtered through two questions? These two questions have changed the way that I think more than almost anything else I've ever learned. When I'm overwhelmed, when I'm frustrated, when someone disappoints me, and when I don't know what decision to make next, I come back to these same two questions every single time. What can I control? And what needs to be true? Most people spend an incredible amount of time trying to control everything: other people's opinions, other people's choices, the economy, politics, your spouse, your kids, your boss. The list, it never ends. And while you're busy trying to change everyone else, we forget the one thing that we actually have ownership of: ourselves. When I ask myself, what can I control? It helps to bring me back to reality. Because if I find myself in that crazy loop of thinking that somehow I can control everybody else's actions and get people to behave the way that I want them to because I have an expectation, then it reminds me that I'm not in control of their decisions and I'm not in control of what they do or how they show up in the world. Because honestly, there's really not much that I can control. The things that I can control are my attitude, my actions, my efforts, my words, my reactions, my habits, my integrity, my discipline, and my character. That's it. Several years ago, I attended this training that talked about how most of us have a core value for our business. We've listed out the things that we expect in our employees and how we all want to show up at work. But we don't usually have core values for our own personal life. And so we spent a good amount of time working on what our core values are personally and how we individually want to show up in the world. And it was interesting because as I'm sitting there trying to think of all the things that are important to me, I realized that my core values that I've written for my business are actually the same as what I require for myself as I show up in the world. I first show up with gratitude. Gratitude helps me to rewire my brain to give me that adjustment that I need so I focus on what's positive and what's important instead of focusing on negative things that I can't control. And responsibility reminds me that I show up as who I am and I can only control that. I can't control what anybody else is doing. And then efficiency, I cannot stand it when things are done inefficiently. I like to get things done quickly. As a matter of fact, while I'm recording this podcast, I'm also building a website and I'm also writing my blog. I like to do things multiple tasks at the same time and be as efficient as possible. And by the way, I just made dinner too, and I have to take it out of the oven. So I am packing in as many things as I can in a short period of time because it's just the way that I am. I'm efficient. And then always improving is something that I am consistently asking myself, how can I be better? Because I don't think we should ever stop improving. I think that life is all about how can you get to the next level and what are you doing to become a better person and a better version of yourself each and every single day. And the last thing is thoughtfulness because sometimes I forget about the people around me. And I want to make sure that I am making life better for all the people that I can. And so I'm consistently asking myself, what have I done lately that makes sure that the people around me feel loved? And those are my core values. And interestingly, it spells great if you were following along, GREAT, because I want to live a great life. And I want to make sure that my business is a great business. And I want to make sure that the people around me love to be in this with me and that we're all doing great things. And so my core values are something that help me to determine my integrity and my discipline and the direction that I'm going to go in every decision that I make, no matter how stressful it is. And when somebody treats me poorly, I don't ask, how should I respond to them? I ask, what would a responsible person do? What would a thoughtful person do? What would somebody that always improving do? Because I can't control them, but I can absolutely control whether I am living out to my values and whether or not I am showing up the way that I expect myself to show up. And that's real freedom. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You can't control them, but you absolutely and completely control whether or not they ruin the next hour of your day. Someone criticizes you online. You can't control their comment, but you can control whether or not you're going to spend the next 3 days agonizing and thinking about that comment. Your spouse has a bad day. You can't control how they're experiencing their day, but you can control how you respond to it. And when you realize that the only person that you can control, it gives you so much of a lighter and better life because now you have something that you can focus on that you can actually change. And that's what leads me to my second question, which is what needs to be true. You have to ask yourself, who do I want to be? What are my goals? Where am I going? What kind of a person do I want to be when I show up? And then act like that person. If you want to be a calmer, more patient person with your children, ask yourself, what does that look like? And then do it. What needs to be true for you to be there? Ask yourself, what would need to be true if I was already that person, and then do that. If I want to be disciplined, what would need to be true for me to be disciplined? I wouldn't hit the snooze button. I would go to the gym every day. I would actually do what I say that I'm going to do, no matter what. When I sit on the couch and I say, I don't really want to, I don't feel like it, I remind myself that I am a disciplined person and I show up and I get up and I go do it. If you want to become confident, what needs to be true? I would stop apologizing for existing. I'd speak with conviction, and I would stop worrying about everyone else's approval. So practice being that person. Trust me, I had to do that. And if you want to become a great leader, what needs to be true? I would encourage people. I'd listen more. I would own my mistakes. I'd stay calm under pressure. Sometimes we think our identity comes after our actions. Don't believe that's true. Identity is built by repeatedly acting like the person that you want to become. You don't wait until you're disciplined. You practice discipline. You don't wait until you're confident. You practice confidence. You don't wait until you're a better leader. You lead by example. Every choice that you make is becoming the person that you're meant to be. What needs to be true and what can you control? One will keep you from wasting energy, and the other will give your energy direction. So this week, every time something frustrates you, ask yourself, what can I control? And every time you're chasing a goal, ask yourself, what needs to be true? If I was already the person that I want to become, what needs to be true? And start doing it. Not someday, today. Those two questions have changed my life. Maybe they'll change yours too. Thanks for listening.